Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm Caitlin Moore. I'm the Financial Literacy Manager at UBT. So a little bit about my job. What I do is I do this. I do webinars all the time on Zoom, hopefully future classroom setting stuff, but with social distancing, I can't. But what I do is I talk about really just anything money related. So the goal is to talk about foundations. So how do we start? Where do we start with little things? So today we're going to be talking about teenagers, so your age, young adults that are contributing financially to your family. So some of you may actually be working, but have some of your finances going, some of your money going straight to your family to help out with things around the house and bills and things like that. So we're going to talk about that and just kind of a little bit more. So if there is conversation that we should have, if there's questions or experiences that you may have some questions about, feel free to ask during this. I love questions and I love when people have their videos on, just so I know everybody's listening to me. So if you do like to see yourself, feel free to show your video. You don't have to, no pressure. I would just ask that you keep yourself on mute unless you have a question or use the chat box. But this first section, when we talk about youth contributing to your family financially, feel free to chime in. And then we're going to talk about financial aid, scholarships, Pell Grants, things like that. So when you're ready to go to college or you're thinking about that, I know especially when money is tight at home, the thought of going to college is a really hard conversation to have for some. So we're going to talk about just kind of things that you could be doing in preparation to going to college later on when it comes to money. So without further ado, let's begin. I have some statistics for you. This was data taken in about 2017, so it's a little bit older. But with that, they said that the U.S. Census said that 36% of adolescents between ages 10 and 19 live at low income levels. And then 16% are living in poverty. And poverty level at that time, this was in 2018, excuse me, was your family, your household income made less than $24,600. So everyone combined made less than that. So with that being said, that's over 50% of American adolescents between the age of 10 and 19 living at either low income or poverty level. And then the rest were not in poverty level. So they made more than 24,600. And that's not you as a youth. That's the entire family, all of your money put together. So there's a lot of resources out there to help out the 50% or the more than 50, the 52% that are living in poverty level. And that's part of what I do is I help people like you or your parents or, I mean, anybody who wants help kind of connect to the resources that are out there that are meant to help with 52% of you that may be helping contribute financially to your family. So we're going to talk about some of that. This does not include kids in foster care. And they made that a point because there's a lot of kids in foster care, a lot of youth in foster care, and they don't count them because they're not on their own. And they're not living with their families either at the time. So just wanted to put that out there. All right, I'm going to skip over this. So if you are helping with your family's finances, so maybe you're working a job somewhere or you babysit, but some of your money has to go to your family to help out. So this can be frustrating, but this can also be very helpful. Maybe you're happy to do it. Maybe you're not. Doesn't matter the emotion behind it. The fact is that you're helping. And so one of the things that I wanted to talk about was if you are one of those, how can you kind of help your family along with just the money that you're contributing? And one of those is getting involved in a family budget. I've gotten feedback from youth saying it's frustrating when they don't know what their family's spending their money on. And so if you can be a part of the budgeting process and learn about how your money is actually affecting the family, that can be really helpful just to know that. If your family doesn't want you, maybe your parents don't want you involved in those conversations, maybe you can be part of some of it. Maybe you can spark the conversation. Maybe there isn't a budget. So maybe you can learn how to budget and then help your family learn how to budget. And then we can help with resources on the side too. so that maybe one day you wouldn't have to help contribute, or maybe less money has to be contributed. But there are plenty of ways to learn how to budget. I can teach you anything you want to know about that. So you're free to contact me at the end of that. But one of the things is I just want to encourage you to understand where your money is going. Because like I said, it can be really frustrating, but it also can make the difference, all the difference in the world in your family. And so asking some questions and being a little bit more involved in understanding where your money is going can be very helpful. Because I would never want to say, don't help. That's not what we're doing here. We're saying you need to help if you need to help. But it also can help kind of your brain and how you take it, and how you work through that. If you understand what your responsibility is and understand where your money is going also. Use your resources for financial aid and education. So one of the questions that was posed to me before I did this was, if you're helping with your family's finances, how can you start saving for college or for trade school, whatever you choose to do after high school? But use your resources. This is going to be big. So if you don't have the money to save right now for college, maybe you're working and a lot of your money is just helping your family out, it's totally fine. Get really educated in the resources that are going to help you go to college, because actually living at poverty or low income status, you can get a lot of help with college or trade schools. So don't think that that's off the table. It's actually more on the table for you than folks that actually live at middle class or upper class. So don't think that that's out of the realm of possibility, but get really educated. And I'm going to help you get educated with that today. You can also help your family out. Maybe it's not financially, maybe you don't have a job, but you wish you could help some more. You can help them out with resources. So there's there's a website and an app. They go together. It's called mylnk.com. I have it up there, or the MyLNK app. I forgot to put the picture up there. Let me pull it up on my phone. It's very, very helpful. And it's helpful because it's updated specifically for Lincoln and the resources that are offered to you here in Lincoln. So if I can find it on my phone here, what they do is they put things like education resources or jobs that are open. I know that's the people who run that app do the jobs that are available here in Lincoln. They put food resources, financial resources, like if you need help paying electricity or your water bill, they have all that up there on the app. And I'm going to bring it up on, I think it's, where'd it go? mylnk.com. Okay, it's lincolnne.mylnk.com. So I'm going to bring this up here on the share screen so that y'all can see it. Can you see it? Yes, no. Yes. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so here's what it looks like online. So if your family could use some help somewhere with anything, education, health, even doing their taxes, the libraries are on here. Employment is a big one. Food is a big one. It's all on here. Childcare openings. So I'm going to click on the food one because that's a big one. So they have a list of food distribution centers. This is where you can get free food. They have a list of the holiday services where you can get even Christmas toys, things like that, and then additional food. So these are more pantries that come around even outside of Lincoln. This includes like the schools that offer the food pantries, things like that. So that is one way you can actually help contribute to your family without having a job. Maybe you just get them connected with something that they can use help on. Education sites. So financial education, which we're going to go through some of that today. Language assistance. So if there's a language barrier in your family, you can definitely call upon somebody to help you with that. Health resources. So look at all these. It's crazy how much is on here. Anything you can think of health-wise, it's on here. So even if you guys have insurance or Medicaid, whatever that looks like, this is the site to go to help with that. They've even got counseling connections on here that take certain insurances, including Medicaid, things like that. So this is a way that you can help your family without actually just giving them cash, especially if you don't have a job and can't do that. Get them connected with resources that they don't have to pay for, so that the money they do have can go towards something else. Clothing is a big one on here. Let me find it. Might be under children and family. I'm not sure. There is a spot on here, and I'm probably just overlooking it here. All the places where you can get free clothing. So that's something that you don't have to budget for if you're getting it for free. So just keep that in mind. MyLNK, it's lincoln.mylnk.app, but you can just type in, if you're going to Google it, MyLNK, or just go to the app. The app is really, really easy to use, probably easier than the website. I must have taken it off my phone or something. I don't know, disappeared. So just want to pass on that to you. So I'm going to go back to my other screen here. Are we there? Can somebody let me know if you can see? Are we back at if you're helping with the finances?
Yes.
Cool. Thank you. Awesome. It's not showing up on my screen which one is highlighted.
Okay.
So I apologize.
No, we see it.
Awesome. Okay. So for that one, and then save what you can when you can. So if you're looking at saving for the future, but you're helping your family with their finances, just save what you can when you can. That's my little tagline. You'll probably hear me say it a lot if you sit through any of my other webinars later on. But even if $5 is all you can save right now, put it aside. That will add up later. Get a savings account, open it up. I don't think anybody here is under the age of 13, but if you have siblings under the age of 13, UBT, Union Bank and Trust, has a promotion right now that if you open up a savings account and deposit $25, the bank will give you $25. So if you have a sibling that wants to earn some free money and have a savings account, that's a really good way. So save what you can, when you can, put it away, especially if you're saving for things that you want. Maybe you want a new pair of shoes, or you want to go out with some friends, but you're contributing financially with your family, so you don't have that much to use. Just save a little bit at a time. It will add up in the end. This is what I tell adults with huge budgets. Save what you can when you can. Again, even if it is $5, it will help. But if you can get connected with community resources, that's going to be the biggest thing that you can do to help your family, because then they'll be saving on things that, that they can get for free elsewhere. So that is the biggest piece of the puzzle. But I know that saving for college is a huge, huge burden and hindrance, and it's scary. Not everybody feels like they can go to college or a trade school. I'm just going to say college, but I do mean trade school. I'm a big fan of trade schools, especially SEC's programs. So I want to talk about that, and just so you all can kind of learn the language around financial aid and student loans and things like that. I'm not going to go through everything because it gets really technical, but I want to give you a broad overview of what that looks like. But before I do that, I want to ask you, and this is when you could turn on your mics or videos, whatever, as far as contributing with your family, does anybody have questions about that? Anybody have questions about what should I do? Or I'm doing this and I just want to have, I need some ideas, because I think this conversation helps if we're talking versus me just saying stuff. I'd love to hear, a little bit about the situation you may be in, not long, maybe just a couple sentences, but then if you do have questions, let's talk about it, because we can all learn from each other on this topic. So does anybody have anything they want to contribute to this conversation? Don't be afraid.
Caitlin, I have a question.
Yeah.
In regards to opening up a savings account, what do the girls need?
Yeah.
What's necessary for them to be able to do so, and have it be successful for them?
Yeah. Okay. So the technical questions for that is, if you are under the age of 18, you do have to have a parent or guardian sign off on the account with you. So their name's going to be on it, but you can get a checking and a savings account all the same. So I'm going to flip over again back to our website to help you understand this a little bit more. So can we see the website?
Yes.
Okay. So this is ubt.com. This is what it looks like as of today. And if you go up here to personal, you can go to checking or savings. Okay. So checking account is what you'd use a debit card for, or a checkbook, which not many people use checkbooks, but I do want to say that. So you have your debit card, and when you go to the store, you swipe it, and the money comes directly out of your checking account. So this is money that needs to be available today. If it's not there, you can't swipe. It's going to decline you, or you're going to get an overdraft fee, which means you're going to have to pay the bank like $34 because you tried swiping. So you want to make sure that the money is in your account. But a checking account is for money that you want to use today. You can go to checking there, click on that, and these are our options here. I'm going to point you at this Simply Free account, the first one on here. There's no minimum balance, so you don't have to bring any money to the table, though I would suggest you do to get you started. And there's no monthly fees involved either. There is this one called My Style Checking, this third one. It's designed for ages 14 to 25. So they specifically designed this account for youth and college kids. This is a great option because you can get some bonus stuff on here, but you have to have $50 to open it up. So that sometimes is the hindrance. $50. There's no monthly fees for it, so you don't pay any fees to have this account, which is great. You get a debit card, but you also get to choose from, there's like 6 bonus features, like they'll give you $25 after a certain amount of time. There's just different things that they'll give you with this account. So it's designed for youth. I'd suggest doing the My Style. If you're looking to open up an account, you just have to start with that $50, unfortunately. And sometimes that's kind of hard, but just start saving because it's always there. This account has been here for years and years. So that's a really great option to have. But you can go onto the website, hit compare all, and look at our checking accounts. The Journey one is for older folks, like 50 and up. Bonus checking, you kind of have to have a lot in there that stays in there. So it's not really the one that is designed for youth. But Simply Free or My Style are the checking accounts, which you can get a debit card with that. So that's a really great one. You just have to have an ID and you're a guardian to open it up. So you can bring in your school ID. When we opened up one for my son, I believe all we had to have was a school ID, just so it had his picture on it and his name. But your guardian or a parent needs to be on the account with you. You will have online access, so you can do everything online, and you can use the app too. And the app is really easy to use. So you can log in and check your account balance and make sure you have money in there. The other option, which you don't have to have a checking account to have a savings account, but a savings account is a really good place to start. Again, it's up there in personal savings. We have 4 different options. I would suggest this first one, the Union Savings or the My Style, because that's going to go with that youth one for the checking. The Union Savings, as long as you keep $100 in your account, there's no fees that you have to pay. So you need to average about $100 a month. So you can take some money out and go below 100, but you need to average about 100. You do have to have $25 to open it, but that's it. My Style is the same way, but you'll get $25 on your anniversary. So after a year, they'll give you $25. There's just a lot more features with that My Style. So the savings account is a little bit different than checking, where you don't have a debit card and you don't have a checkbook. It's really there so you could put money away and save it, earn interest off of it, which means the bank's going to give you just a little bit, not a lot of money. The longer you have your money in there and the more you have in there, but it's really just an account to keep your money safe while you add to it and you save. And I know a lot of you are looking to do that. You don't have to have a checking. You could just have a savings if you want, or you can have both. But just know that when your money's in your savings account, you can't get it out unless you transfer it into your checking or you go to the bank to get the money out. So it's really like a safekeeping place for your dollars. So if you have questions about savings and checking, I'm happy to answer those for you. If you want to put in the chat box or contact me after. But you can sign up online too. So this is another thing. You just have to put apply now. I signed up for my savings and checking right here. I did it all online, so it makes it really easy to do that. So you don't have to go into a branch to do that. So if you bank at another bank already, but you wanted to move it over, they do have a way to transfer your money from your old bank into the UBT. So I'm not here to talk you into it. If you bank with another bank, totally fine. What I do want to encourage you, especially as young folks, when you're opening up accounts, is to consider how much they're charging you to use your account. That's really, really important. I had somebody the other day tell me that when she went into the bank, at her bank to put money in, they charged her a fee. And you should never have to pay a fee to put money into your account. So if you are being charged, you need to consider that you're losing money just by having your money in a bank. So, and we don't do that. So, again, I'm not here to talk you into it, and you can bank where you want. I mean, I'll still talk to you and I'll still help you. That's what I do. I'm not here to talk you into UBT products, but I do want to introduce you to the fact that there are some options within your age range, these My Style options that are really youth friendly. So there's a lot of bonuses and there's a lot of ways to avoid fees. So just want to put that out there for you. Okay, can you have a checking account at one bank and a savings account at a different bank? Absolutely. You can have 5 different checking accounts at 5 different banks and 5 different savings accounts at 5 different banks if you want to. Some people put their savings at another bank. I actually do that because then I can't transfer it into my checking and spend it. So I purposely have a savings account at a different bank than I normally bank at for that reason. So yes, the answer is yes. You can have different accounts at different banks. So great question. And that came through the private chat. So feel free, if you don't want your name on that, to send it to me privately through the chat if you want to ask some questions. All right, I'm going to go back to sharing this one here. So does anybody have any questions about financially, like helping out your family, some resources? Maybe you don't want to ask over video, and that's completely fine. My contact will be at the end if you do have some more questions, or feel free to ask more and she can ask me too. I definitely want to have this conversation if you do need some help with this. So does anybody else have any questions? All right. Well, let's jump into the financial aid and student loans. This can be very complicated, but I'm going to try to make it as easy as possible for you. Partially because I'm not going to go through a whole lot of details. I'm going to go through the overview, like I said before. But feel free to chime in, especially with questions if this gets a little confusing. So really what we're going to talk about is definitions. What do each of these mean? Because there's a lot of language that goes into student loans or scholarships or things like that. And I want you to just at least understand what they mean. So our first one is scholarship. So this is a grant or a sum of money given to you by the government or another organization. It's literally somebody saying, here, take my money. That's what a grant is. So a grant or a payment made to support a student's education. Scholarships are usually awarded based on academic or other achievements. So you might hear like a sports scholarship or an academic scholarship. You can get scholarships for being blonde hair, blue eyes, or, being short. I mean, my son is really short and we've told him he could find scholarships for being short. You can find scholarships for almost anything. You just got to dig, and you'll likely have to write some sort of like report or paper essay on why you would deserve that money. But there's scholarships for everything. So if you are really good at chess or a sport, or you're involved in clubs at school, there's likely a scholarship out there for you. So start looking for them. Yes. So if you are involved, be really good at what you're doing, because you could earn that scholarship and it will help pay for your tuition, your books, room and board. Sometimes they give cash scholarships. So you just take the money in cash. There's different ways to get this money, and it does not have to be repaid. That's the key with scholarships. It's money given to you for a reason, which you have to qualify for that reason. And then that money is yours for your education, and you do not have to pay it back. The younger you are, the more time you have at this point to spend looking for scholarships for college. There's a lot of scholarships that you can apply for years before you go to college, and they will save that money for you and send it to the college of your choice when you're ready. So it's something to consider. Now, if you have a plan for college payment, maybe grandma and grandpa, mom and dad are paying for college, you can still get scholarships. There's nothing wrong with getting those scholarships and taking some of the financial burden off of whomever is paying. So scholarships are great. Get them when you can. Look up random scholarships. I think I put the websites at the end where you can look up really like random scholarships. If you wear glasses or contacts, there's scholarships out there for you. Anything you can think of. If you're left-handed, look for those scholarships. They're out there. So there's some crazy ones. There's some funny ones. They may not be a whole lot of money, but hey, $500 could pay for a whole semester of books. So look for those scholarships. The next one is a grant. Like I said, it's a sum of money given to you by the government or organization for a particular person. This is also free money that does not need to be paid back, and it's for a particular reason. Without getting too complicated, when you start applying for college and financial aid, most likely you'll get some sort of grant. Most schools offer some sort of grant where they take it off your tuition or they give it to you in cash. But there's a lot of grants out there, just like scholarships. You may have to look for them, but you do not have to pay grants back. There are some grants that say, if I give you this money, but you don't graduate college, you have to pay me back. But most of them, it's just free money. So look for grants also along the way. A Pell Grant, this is what you're going to see when you start applying for colleges, is a federal grant, meaning it's coming from the government, awarded to students for post-secondary education, which is colleges, universities, career schools. So you could go to Job Corps, or you could do just like SEC's trade school, anything like that. It's awarded based on financial need. So if you were one of the 52% that we talked about, that's low income or poverty level, you will get more of the Pell Grant than someone who may have a little bit more money. So Pell Grants are really important. I believe most schools force you to apply for them through FAFSA, which we'll talk about in a second, and you'll be awarded a Pell Grant based off of your parents' finances, actually, or if you're on your own when you go to college, it's based off your own. So Pell Grants are really great. You don't have to pay them back, and they'll be sent straight to your school, or sometimes you can get them reimbursed to you in cash. Federal loans. So there's different types of student loans. This is where I'm just going to kind of breeze over them. But one of the types of loans are federal loans, and these are the best ones to get if you're going to take out a loan. They're loans given by the government. They're usually lower interest that you're paying on them, and repayment plans are a lot better on federal loans. Right now, during this pandemic, our president signed off on federal loans not having to be repaid until January. So he kind of put a halt to the repayment plan. That was something that the government had the power to do, which was really nice. I'm one of those that has student loans because my parents could not afford to put me through college. And so I have not had to pay on my federal loans, the ones that were given to me by the government during this time. So again, the repayment plan is a little bit different. It can come in handy, especially when, there's job shortages, and this year has been crazy for some people, for a lot of people, most people. And so federal loans tend to be a little bit easier to work with if you qualify for them. Work study. This is part-time employment through your school that you go to. And the way they pay you is they take it off of your tuition. So it lowers your education expenses. Work studies are particular jobs, and there's limited amount of them. And qualification is usually lower income qualifies before higher income. So if you are looking to knock down some of your college expenses, be one of those that applies for those work studies. That means you get to work on campus. You don't have to go very far, and they just take it right from your tuition. They lower your tuition, and that's kind of how they pay you. So work study programs are something to look out for. Very important to grab because there's limited ones, but if you are lower income, then you're going to qualify for them a lot faster. So you want to grab those as soon as you can. So if you're thinking about a college or you're doing a tour, you might want to ask, what does your work study program look like? Ask about the jobs that are available, things like that. They're usually within the kind of whatever your major is. You want to have a work study within that. But it's not always the case. Sometimes you can just simply work in the cafeteria as a work study, and they're going to lower your tuition to do that. So it's a great way to work and go to school. Private loans are loans for school that are given by institutions. They're not given by the government. They're given by loan programs. So a bank may have a private loan, which is rare for banks to do that anymore, or an institution. So like the Bill Gates Foundation they don't give loans, they give grants and scholarships, but that would be considered like a private institution. It's someone or a business that's giving away these loans. Parent Plus loans, these are loans taken out by your parents in your name. That means your parents are responsible to pay them back along with you because your names are both on it. FAFSA, I know that I say that wrong, but you're going to hear this term as you approach college age or are looking for colleges. FAFSA is called the Free Application for Student Aid. Everyone is required to fill this out if you are getting student aid. So if you're looking for scholarships or loans, you're going to be required to fill this out. But this is where they decide if you qualify for grants or Pell Grants. So it's really important that everybody fills this out when you're going to college, because this is really going to set the standard for how much free money you're going to be able to qualify for. So we want to make sure that every year, sometimes they require it every semester, that you're filling this out. Don't skip it, because this is free money that is at the end of this application. So it's really, really important. They're going to want your parents' information if you are living with your parents or they consider you dependents, so they're still paying your way. That's what's going to decide also how much free money you get. But FAFSA is super important when it comes to college. It's not a hard application. It's almost like filling out stuff to do your taxes, which can sometimes be a little daunting, and some of you don't know what that's like yet, but it just asks for a lot of financial information. So make sure that you are filling that out. And I will tell you that at every school, and I specifically know the person here for SCC and UNL, if there is someone at schools that will help you fill this application out. And I know the guy who does it for both of those schools, just to help you make sure that you're getting all the free money that you qualify for. So don't panic, especially if you're going to school here in Lincoln or Omaha. There are people, but most schools have people that will help you fill this application out to help you get free money. So no panicking there. These are just types of loans. I'm not going to go into it. Stafford loan, direct loan, subsidized, unsubsidized. These have to do with your financial need qualification, how much money you need, the interest that has to be paid back, whether you're enrolled part-time or full-time, and also if it's from a government entity or a private entity. So when looking for loans for college, make sure that whatever you're looking at, you're asking a lot of questions and you're getting some help from your school to find the right fit for you, because there's certain loans that you have to have your parent on, or if you're low income, you'll qualify more for. That's better for you than something else. So when it comes time for college, or reach out to me again and I'll help you process through that. But there are ways to get different loans that have different repayment plans and interest and things like that. So just know that you need to ask a lot of questions when it comes to loans. I am one that did not, because I had no idea. And so I have like 8 different loans to get through college, and they all have different repayment plans and all different interest rates, and they're all from different companies, and it was a mess. So I would encourage you just to ask questions to make sure that you're doing it the right way every time. It doesn't mean if you're like me and did it the wrong way, it can't be done. But to make your life easier, just ask a lot of questions, because that is definitely something I did not do, and now I'm paying for it. So, all right, so let's talk about scholarships in particular. So this is definitely something to think about, especially if you're in high school, different ways to get scholarships. So one is like an individual scholarship. So there's scholarships if you want to be a doctor, or a nurse, or a dentist, or a teacher. There's specific scholarships to help you get through school because you want to become a certain something at the end of this. So doctor, nurse, dentist, teacher. There's career exchange. So there's types of scholarships where they will give you money to work for them while you're going to school. So it's an exchange. So you're learning your industry, you're learning what you want to do at the same time you're going to school, and the company that you're working for will pay your way. So that's something to look for. Especially, I put on here, National Health Service Corps gives full ride scholarships in exchange for 2 years of service. So if you work for National Health Service Corps, they will send you to school. So look for those type of things. What industries will actually pay your way through school if you work for them? there's a lot of companies out there like UBT, for instance. If you work for UBT, I think it's like a month, then you qualify for them to start giving you scholarships. So I could go back to school right now and they will pay up to, I believe, $5,000 of my schooling every year. There's a lot of companies that do that. The company I worked for prior to coming to UBT, for instance, I went through my master's program and they paid almost the entire amount of my master's program because I had worked there and I was continuing to work for them, and they would just pay every year a certain amount. So I made it, I stretched out my education for 3 years and they paid a certain amount every year, and they paid for most of my program. So when you're looking for a job, even now, it's something to ask for if they have any scholarships or tuition reimbursement where they'll pay you back if you get a good grade. Now, the company that I worked for before, I had to get a B average for them to pay for my school, but that was incentive to get really good grades and learn and read and do all the things that I needed to do to get a good grade. But that was a lot of money hanging on the line. So if that's something that you can look for in a job, I would encourage you to do so because it's worth it. It's worth somebody paying the bill for your education while you get experience while working for the company.
I had just on a note from that, I worked for LES, the Lincoln Electric Company before, systems before I came to Girls Inc., and they paid for both the rest of my bachelor's and my master's degree.
Awesome. Yeah, exactly. So, it's perfect. And
yeah.
Usually it's just requirements like you have to work there a year, or
right.
if I know that the state for caseworkers, they could go back to school. They have a program that the state will pay for them to go get their master's, but they have to commit to working for them for 2 more years after they graduate. And if they don't,
right.
then they have to pay back the money. So sometimes there's some stipulations involved, but if you can work for a company that's going to pay for your education, do it and take advantage of it. You will not regret it. You won't.
Right.
Because education is expensive.
Very expensive.
Yes, yeah. Very much is. So, all right. So athletics, if you are an athlete right now, be very good at what you do because you could get full ride scholarships, partial scholarships, if you apply for them. So it's something, I mean, we always see this with football here in Lincoln. We see it with UNL. They're getting full ride scholarships, things like that. But they do that for all athletics. So if you're a good runner, be really good at it. If you play volleyball, be very good at it. You could end up with a scholarship paying your way through college just for you to play that sport at the college. So athletics is a big scholarship moneymaker right there. A merit scholarship is awarded for being the best of the best. So if you get super good grades, you could get merit scholarships. Or if you volunteer, if you're one of those that volunteers a lot, and this is documented, maybe you have a really good skill or a talent, you're dedicated. These are for the people that achieve at a higher level within what they're doing. So they're doing extra volunteering. They're really good at math. So they're in all these mathathons, whatever they're called. I don't even know. So there are merit scholarships, and then others. There's scholarships, like I said earlier, religion, ancestry. If you have any Native American documented ancestry, you could almost get a full ride scholarship pretty much anywhere. Areas of study, if you've been adopted, you can get a scholarship for that. If you were in foster care past the age of 13, so 13 to 19 in the state of Nebraska, for any portion of time, you can get a scholarship in college, even if you're at home with your parents now. Your financial situation makes a big difference when it comes to scholarships. You can win scholarships during contests. There's so many things that you can get a scholarship for. You just got to look for them. Okay, just reading the chat box just to make sure I'm not missing any questions here. Okay, so there are some really good websites that I can send this out to Maura so that she can get it out to you too. But you can just Google something unique about yourself plus scholarship. So I have red hair scholarship, or I'm really short scholarship, or I was in foster care scholarship. You could just Google those things and see what you come up with. There's big websites, scholarships.com is a big one, collegedata.com. The gatesscholarship.org is Bill Gates's scholarship program. They're very specific to what they give money to, but they give out millions in scholarships every year. So it's worth checking that out, especially if you know what your major is going to be or you're thinking about going down a certain road. But there are several places. Scholarshipowl.com is celebrity sponsored scholarships. So there's celebrities out there that give their money specifically for specific scholarship reasons. So again, there's tons of websites for specific scholarship reasons. Just look at them. Scholarships.com is a big one that will point you in a lot of directions. Yes, this is a good point. Tuition reimbursement. That's a good way to Google it too and look things up. Tuition reimbursement, not just scholarship, because it may be that you pay for college, but someone will give you money back if you get a good grade or something like that. So definitely look at tuition reimbursement as a key phrase. Okay, work study. We talked about this. Is that what we're doing? Yeah, I've gone through a lot of these, but I want to make sure I get all the details here. There's a certain number of work study programs at each school. They're limited, so you want to apply as soon as you can. They're usually part-time. They're federally funded, so they are there. It's not that the school's making this decision. It's the federal government is actually giving them money to do this. There are usually some hefty qualifications, but lower income bumps you up to first in line. So get in there as soon as you can, but ask when you're looking at schools if they have work study programs and what the qualifications are, because that might be a big part of how you pay for college is through work study. Pell Grants, like I said, this goes through FAFSA when you fill out that form for financial aid when you go to college. These do not have to be repaid. The amounts are different for everyone. I remember when I was in college, and then my roommate, we would fill out FAFSA, and I would get some money because I got married in college where she was still single. And so being married in college actually got me more money because we were broke. So, and my parents weren't claiming me anymore on their taxes. So I was on my own, but that actually got me more money. I'm not encouraging anyone to go out and get married before college. That's not what I'm saying. But if you happen to be one of those that gets married before or during college, you'll actually get more of a Pell Grant. Unless you guys are making a lot of money, but most people don't when they first get married. So just know that that's one of the qualifications actually. Yeah, some of the eligibility on those Pell Grants, your expected family contribution. So again, if you are living with your parents or your parents are claiming you on their taxes as a dependent, one of these questions is how much does your parents make? And then they're going to say, well, based off what they make, they're supposed to pay this much. It doesn't always happen that way. My parents could not afford to put any of me or my siblings through college, but the Pell Grants always, or the FAFSA always said that they were expected to pay like half of my tuition. They couldn't. So that's why I never really got much of a Pell Grant until I got married and wasn't, that was my household. It was just me and my husband versus my parents. So it gets a little complicated in that, but expected family contribution doesn't mean that your parents are going to pay. It's just they are determining that you're less qualified at this point for a Pell Grant because of your expected family contribution. But if you are in that low income or poverty level, it should not be a problem at all. This is for part-time or full-time student status. So if you are one of those that can't go full-time, that's okay. You have to be attending a year or less. So again, part-time is considered that less. And all of this FAFSA stuff is on the same website, no matter what college you're going to. And that's studentaid.gov/FAFSA. Studentaid.gov is also a really good website to go to for any sort of student aid, to learn about loans, to look for scholarships, things like that. So studentaid.gov is one of those that I would highly suggest you looking at if you are thinking about college sometime soon. Private loans, I'm not going to go through this. Private loans, again, are a business or an entity is loaning you money, a bank, something like that. It's not through the federal government. The repayment process is a little more in depth. They don't always allow for skip payments, or the interest rate is higher, things like that. So private loans are not always the best way to go. If you can get a federal loan, which is our next one, federal loans are really the way to go. When looking at loan programs, their payback program is better. It's a little bit easier. You don't have to have certain qualifications. You do have to complete the FAFSA, which you're going to do anyway. Everyone's going to do that. So federal loans are usually the first option. Now, every school has somebody that's specifically working with your loans and helping you. So they're probably going to suggest the same thing. So definitely talk to that person if you have to get student aid, because they're going to point you in the right direction to help you get the most that you can get before loans. Repayment options. I'll go through this really quick. Depending on what kind of loan you get, if you do student loans, there's different forgiveness options, which means federal loans have these really cool, there's 3 repayment options that after a certain amount of time, they forgive the rest of your loan. So if you're a public service for person, so if you work in, say, like a nonprofit or social services, something like that, that qualifies under public service. I believe that's also like a nurse or a doctor, so medical field. So if you're serving the public in that job, I believe it's a 10-year program. Sometimes it's less, but after 10 years, whatever you have left of your student loans, they just forgive it and you're done. Teachers also have that loan program. I think theirs is less of the time. So if you're going to be a teacher, federal loans will forgive a lot of your repayment just after, it's like 5 or 7 years. I'm not sure, it changes a lot, so don't hold me to that. But after a certain amount of time of being a teacher, you can get your loans repaid on your behalf.
And science teachers get an even extra bump of money.
I didn't know that.
Because you guys know science. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you go into a specialty, I've heard that, like if you do a specialty type of public service or teaching, you can get a little bit more, or you can get paid off faster. And then there is just student loan forgiveness. There's for various things. Not everybody will qualify, but there are forgiveness programs after a certain amount of time. So federal loans offer that, whereas private loans usually don't. So again, those federal loans are going to be better for the repayment program because you can often get a lot forgiven. Then there's income-based repayment. So if you're worried about taking out a large sum of money for your loans and then having to repay it back, a lot of times they offer income-based repayment, which means if you only make a certain amount, they're only going to require you to pay back a certain amount. That will go up as your income goes up. But especially for folks right out of college, you're probably not going to be making a ton of money. And so you would have less of a repayment for that time. All right, so here are some resources if you're looking for student loans. This, I would say, just go on their website and read the options, read repayment plans, just get familiar, especially if you're not ready for student loans or going to college yet. Just get familiar with it, because the more familiar you are, the more you can set some goals. Like if you look at these student loans and you say, I don't want to take out loans because I don't want to pay all this interest, then you can focus on scholarships or grants and applying for those. So getting educated in the process is really, really important. So some of those websites, and I can send these out to studentaid.gov, mention that one. There's private lenders. So Nelnet, which is housed here in Lincoln, is a big one. Navient is a big one. Sallie Mae, Ascent, Education Quest is a good website to go on that will help point you to a lot of scholarships, loans, different things like that. Nelnet actually suggested I tell you about that one. They use that one a lot for resources. So Education Quest is a good one. They used to have the worst commercials, I'll tell you that, the worst, but they're a really good website. So check out those places. And Nelnet is one of those that I can't tell you what to do, but Nelnet is very easy to work with, in my opinion. And I've worked with a couple of these companies. I don't have any loans through Nelnet, but I have found that they're very easy to work with. And because they're in Lincoln, I feel like we've got the little Midwest vibe over here. So it's always a good idea to just look at other companies, look at what's out there, but definitely get educated in the loans and what they have to offer. Okay. So I had a question. I've had some questions come up. So, and one of them was the banking. So I'll come back to that at the end. how do you know where to find the places to work that help pay for college? Great question. Ask the question. So when you are applying for jobs, one of the things you should be doing anyway before an interview is research the company. So even if you're going to apply at Wendy's, let's use them as an example, you should probably go on the website and get to know what they do, the company a little bit. But you'll find that places like Wendy's actually has scholarship programs. So even fast food places that you might be working at in particular. So can you guys hear me okay? My mic just, okay.
Yeah, I went out for a second, but
Okay.
came back.
Okay. Yeah, so you can look on their websites to find out if they offer any scholarship or grants or anything like that, tuition reimbursement. Oftentimes it's under the benefits. So if you're looking on their website and you go to benefits, this is where you're going to see if you get healthcare coverage, 401k, all those little things, and they're going to put education reimbursement. But if you still don't know, ask that question. It's actually a really good question to ask anyway, because in an interview process, you want to come to the interview with some good questions. And that's one, because you're going to show them that you're very interested in your education and yourself and applying yourself and kind of moving up. And they want to hire, anybody wants to hire somebody like that. So asking the question, what is your education reimbursement program like, or do you even have one, is a great question to ask. Even if you're going to interview at a fast food joint, just ask and they'll tell you. So that's a really good question. But you can also search it online or even Google. Does Wendy's have a scholarship program? Does Target have a scholarship program? But I would say most big companies do. It's the little mom and pop shops that might not. But if you're going to work for a big box store or fast food place, or a bigger company that maybe stretches nationwide, they'll likely have some sort of education reimbursement for you. So great question. Go ahead.
That's it. Oh, sorry. That is a good question. I think locally, Target but I know Russ's Market does have some programs, especially for honor students and other things like that. So those, if you're looking for a job and you're in high school and you want to know who locally does have either scholarship programs, tuition programs, those are two that I know of.
Yeah, I believe Starbucks does. And then Lowe's does, if you want to work at a hardware store.
But they're usually listed on their websites.
Yep. Under benefits. That's where you're going to see it. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. Great question. Okay. Does anybody have questions about scholarships, financial aids, anything like that? Any other questions? This is a lot of information. And we could go into it more detailed if you wanted to later on. If you do have questions, just contact me. This is a lot of information, but the purpose was just to kind of get the juices flowing about college, especially if you're one of those that's contributing to your family's finances and you're just like, I don't have the money to go to college. There is a way. There's absolutely a way. There's a company here called TMCO. It's off of 8th and I don't know, like 8th and C. It's a manufacturing company, and they are very, very set on hiring women and refugees. They have a huge education program there. They're going to put you through all of these classes to help with like ESL things, but they also want to see you go to college, and they're really big on supporting you through college. So there are big companies, and you may not want to do exactly what they do, but maybe you could do it during college because they're going to pay your way or a big chunk of change. So TMCO is a really good company here in Lincoln. They make like steel parts. They like anybody can come to them and say, hey, we need this part to make this machine work, and they'll make it. I know
they make a gazebo at Sunken Garden.
Oh, there you go. Yes, they do like random things. Kawasaki, I believe, has a program, an education program, really good one. And they pay a lot higher than most factory working companies. And then Bison Industries, it's here in Lincoln. They actually make sports equipment, like the backings to basketball hoops and things like that. So a lot of stuff within sports, and they need welders all the time. And so they will pay you more if you go to school to get your welding certificate. And I believe they have a reimbursement program there. So there are companies that, even though they don't maybe give you a reimbursement or a scholarship, they'll pay you more just by getting a certificate or something like that, or they'll pay your way to get that certificate. So that's something also to look out for. And you could be doing that now. Some of them require you to be just 16 or 18. So you could be doing that early and then work your way through college that way. So other questions? Anybody else? Well, this is my contact information if you do have questions along the way. Again, you do not have to bank with UBT to contact me. I'm not going to talk you into banking with us, but if you have questions along the way, I want to answer those for you. I just got a question from Hannah, and I don't know what that is. So if you want to clarify, and then I'll try to answer for you. That was a private question. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the banking question that I got earlier. She said, do you think that it would be a good idea to only have a set amount in a different checking account? So that way, when you go shopping, it makes it harder for you to be impulsive or blow all your money. That's such a good question. I feel like everybody has that question. I think if that's what you need, then that's what you need. A good budget can help you make sure that you don't blow all your money in one shopping trip. If you have a checking and a savings, that's a good way around that, where you put most of your money in savings, but you only move over what you can spend. Because that way, when you swipe your debit card or you take out cash, you're limited to what's in your checking account. I know at one bank, not UBT, I don't know if UBT does this, but they can put an overdraft protection on your card. So what we did for my son, we didn't have him banking at UBT. My husband works for another bank, so we used that bank. Basically, once his account had no money in it, he could not swipe. It would prevent him from swiping and overdrafting, so overdrawing. So that's another way too. You can put some spending limits on your account, or you can make it so that you can't spend over a certain amount or overdraft, things like that. But if you're worried about overspending, I would suggest just get that savings account, put your money in your savings, but only pull over to your checking what you are allowing yourself to spend. But that was a really good question and really smart way of thinking too. Okay, so that scholarship question, it's a super specific one. I'll look it up for you, Hannah, and I can get back to you, or I can go through Maura to get back to you. I'm going to write that down. I will help you find that. It's a type of scholarship. I will send the information to Maura to pass on to you.
Okay.
And I have the person's name. So,
okay.
Any other questions? These are great ones so far. Well, feel free to contact me if you do have questions. One of the things I do offer, especially if you're one of those that's helping out with your family's finances, is I do financial coaching, which means I can sit down with your parents if they want to and put together a budget with them, help them with resources in the community, get you involved, especially if you're adding money in. It's all free and you don't have to bank with us. So if you're looking, if your parents are looking just to get on more of a good budget, or you yourself want to get on a good budget, I'm happy to help you with that. We can meet in person, or we can meet over Zoom, just by phone, whatever you need to do. So I want to offer that to you guys too.